that the Faith and Freedom Coalition is the most pro-family organization on the planet. And that's because this event wouldn't happen without my family. I already mentioned my wife, Christiana, my parents watching kids, my sister helping to watch kids, everyone, all the volunteers that we really consider family. Thank you so much. But there's another family member that I want to introduce to you. That's my father-in-law. He serves in the U.S. Congress for Georgia's 11th Congressional District. He's a U.S. Army veteran. Air Force veteran. Sorry, Steve. He can get into that. Air Force. Woo! Air Force, U.S. Air Force veteran. He's a businessman, served in the State House, served in the State Senate, and he's a man that I deeply admire and respect. Please join me in welcoming Congressman Barry Loudermilk.
Well, thank you, Mac. I appreciate that. Yeah, my youngest son and my dad both served in the Air. They couldn't get in the Air Force either. So this is exciting, seeing the number of people here now. I lost count of how many of these freedom or victory dinners I've spoken at, but this has got to be the largest. And last year, as we were in the VIP reception, I was meeting with some people, and I found out two of my colleagues from high school were there. I got nervous, to be honest with you, but I learned something here today. And if there's anybody else here that I grew up with here in Georgia, you went to school and you made fun of me, you called me buttermilk and sour milk, I just found out I have the best name in Congress, so take that. But seriously, tomorrow, you all know what tomorrow is, right? 237 years of a constitutional republic. Tomorrow is Constitution Day. 237 years ago, our founders passed the most significant document in world history. This is the longest serving constitutional republic in the history of the world, and this is the one question that's on everyone's mind. How much longer? How much longer are we going to be able to keep it? You know, Ronald Reagan said that freedom is fragile, and we're only one generation away from losing our freedom. I want you to think about that. We're probably closer now than we've ever been, and there is a generation in here today that could see the end of our freedom, end of our country as we know it. But there's also a great possibility that there's a generation in this room that will be the next generation of freedom warriors for our Constitution. To preserve our freedom isn't easy, and it takes two critical issues. That's faith and commitment. Now and I'm sure Jack Welch will be familiar with this. You know me, I love World War II history, and the best illustration of faith and commitment comes from that generation. And this was in the Battle of the Bulge when the 82nd Airborne was deployed to the town of St. Vith, and the 325th Glider Regiment took positions just north of the city. The 7th Armored Division was retreating. They were going back to set up a new line because we were being decimated by the German forces. But as one of those tank destroyers was retreating, they stopped and they saw a lone private standing on the side of the road digging a foxhole. Now, the commander of that tank destroyer, his name was Bill Rogers. He was the son of humorist Will Rogers. Well, he opened the hatch and he looked at the private and he said, "Is this the way to the rear?" And Private Martin, this lone soldier, no one else in sight, turns around to him. He said, "Sir, are you looking for somewhere safe?" He said, "Yes, I am." He said, "Well, pull that tank behind me because I'm 82nd Airborne, and this is as far as the Germans are going to get." One lone private willing to take on the entire German army. How could this be? Because he had two things. He had faith in the principles that founded our nation, which were spelled out in our Declaration of Independence. That God created us, He's given us rights, and government can't take those rights, and government's job is to defend those rights. He thought that was something worth fighting for and potentially dying for. and that was his commitment. A few years ago, when I was running for Congress for the first time, we were having a tough time raising enough money. But a friend of mine came and we were having dinner one night. He was a volunteer, a fancy dinner at Wendy's. And as we were sitting there, and I knew he was struggling, in fact, I knew that his air conditioner in his house had quit working. And it was the middle of July. And it was hot, and he didn't have the money to repair it. But as we're sitting there talking about the campaign, he slips an envelope over to me, and I was like, David, I'm not going to take that. I know what you're trying to do. He says, you need to take it. And I know it's not proper to open it up and look at it while somebody's there, but I felt led that I should, and I opened it up, and there was a check for $1,000. I said, David, I can't accept this. He said, God told me to give that to you. I said, David, you can't even fix your air conditioner. How can you afford to do this? And then he said something that just was life-changing. He said, my daughter's freedom is more important than my comfort. So I'm going to ask you tonight, what's more important to you? To be the warriors like Private Martin, because let me tell you something, Private Martin wasn't comfortable in what he was doing. This nation is worth being uncomfortable. Whether it's working, whether it's giving, whether it's raising the next generation of warriors, it is up to us to do this. So tonight, I'm going to ask you, will you be a little uncomfortable for the future of our nation? I think it's worth fighting for. God bless you all. God bless this country. Thank you.